Hello everyone, Vickless here back with another video. Also today is the 1 year anniversary of Falcon Pop, so thanks again to everyone who went and watched that when it came out. Really awesome to see all the support for that. Today I want to talk about another star hit in Mario Baseball called the Slice hit, and ultimately I want to talk about why I think it should be removed from the game. So what is Slice? If you don't know what it is, it's a type of hit that was discovered by Discord users Solar Flare and Matty Ice this past year. It's a swing commonly done on a star hit that can only work on the first or last frame of a swing, so that's frames 10 and frames 2. And then if contact is made, the hit will go down the middle of the field every time, so it's kind of a busted hit in the game. So in this video I'm going to cover 9 reasons why I think the slice should be removed. So number 1, I think slicing goes against the core physics of hitting a baseball. Mario Baseball is kind of a wacky game. There's eggs and bananas bouncing everywhere. But at its core, it still plays like a baseball game. And from what we know, slicing is an unintentional glitch that isn't meant to be in the game. We found a few other glitches similar to this. Glitch bunting, dingus bunting. There's some batting codes that are kind of messed up. But we think that it was not intended to be in the game in the first place. Also, early swings in baseball should be foul, late swings should be foul, and this is the case for most of the game. A lot of frame 3 hits go foul, a lot of frame 9 hits go foul. So those are another couple of reasons why I think this kind of goes under this first argument here. Contact not mattering at all is also being rewarded. You don't have to have good contact on a slice. If you hit frame 2, no matter how your contact is, it's going to go up the middle regardless. Whereas there's some other hits in the game that are more timing based, like a line drive star swing or a Falcon Pop. Whether you swing earlier or later can depend on if it's a hit or not. And then also the game is correctly focused on swing frame timing, except for slicing. For the most part, from what we've discovered, there's push and pull hitters. Line drive star swings can go foul. I don't think they are affected by slice. And then, like I said, Falcon Pop needs sour contact and late timing for the best use of it. So that's argument number 1. Argument number 2, hits should not be this guaranteed, even in an arcade baseball game. And I kind of went through some examples of games to try and figure out more information from them. So Backyard Baseball is another arcade baseball game that has power-ups. But to get them, you have to make certain plays, whether that's like a double play or the hitter hitting a pitcher power-up, or you can also earn pitching power-ups from strikeouts. So it's a little more balanced there, whereas in Mario Baseball, you start out with a number of stars and you can slice right off the bat. MLB Slugfest is another game that I played a lot growing up. You can have batters and pitchers get on fire, and it'll boost all of their stats, but they still don't hit 1,000. They can still get out. So if you know any other arcade baseball games, I know Nicktoons MLB is one. I'd love to hear more about them and how maybe some of their special hits work. But to me, it kind of ceases to be a sports or baseball game when most of the characters have the ability to get a free hit. It kind of becomes something else, and I think we've kind of mentioned it in the Discord community. There's a lot of Smash Bros carryover into the community, which is great. It's brought a lot of eyes to the baseball game as well. But for whatever reason, that community does seem to lean more pro slice, since it's like a very specifically timed input that can guarantee a result. So I guess my opinion personally kind of on that is I really don't have a problem with batters having high batting averages based on good timing and contact. I know a lot of people think Birdo is broken. I think Birdo is fine without slice. I think Birdo could still have some crazy good averages, but it's not going to be that 1,000 hit that you can get with a slice. So this is also kind of why I think frame 10 also needs to go. I know there's been discussion of keeping frame 10 and just getting rid of frame 2 because it's the later hit. Even if it's a smaller chance of success, it's still going to offer up the opportunity to have accidental slices. And I think the player base would just move to using frame 10 instead of trying not to slice at all. It kind of just delays solving the issue that's being presented to a later time. So that's argument number 2. Argument number 3, the player base right now is fairly top heavy. It's rare to crack the top 20 to 25 players without being able to slice in some capacity. If someone is in the top 20 and isn't slicing, it's not because they can't do it. They maybe just aren't doing it or prefer not to do it out of principle. And now I would say A and B tier players are able to slice somewhat consistently. And when I say that, Even just being able to do it 1 to 2 times a game is huge in Stars Off, and maybe even once a game in Stars On. And I believe this previously was not the case even like 6 months ago. And also, one of the most impactful uses of free practice time if you're trying to get better at the game is to, either practice hitting with, Bowser, PD, or Bro, the top 3 heavies, or I would say practice slicing. As we've kind of seen some videos of, like Shops, for example, in the Discord, was showing how he practices slicing with Mario in the back of the box. So that's argument number 3. Argument number 4 is more of just kind of what I've witnessed from playing the game recently. I feel like a lot of core aspects of gameplay are being neglected. Just more of an observation, like whether it's playing randoms or ranked Stars Off or Stars On. Whether it's like your defense or your batting order, base running, bunting, stealing. All of those are kind of just a little less relevant because if you can slice, you can kind of get away with a lot while lacking in one or more of those areas. So you don't have to be as well-rounded of a player. Like your defensive lineup, if you draft a heavy defensive team, it may not even matter or matters way less if, there's 4 hits or more in a game that have no chance of being caught. And that could maybe just be with a captain. You could be slicing with non-captain characters too. And I also think there's like less incentive to be aggressive on the base pads. If you have a runner at second, you thought about going to third, you might hold off. If you have a slicer coming up, the slice can just drive in the runner easily. Same with bunting and stealing. You may not even want to risk like a bunt pop-up. Whether you may be able to guarantee you won't get out with potentially like a slice grounder star or a captain's slice. So that's argument number 4. Argument number 5, lack of frame hitting meta development. So instead of players just trying to figure out the optimal frames to hit for each character, a lot of players are kind of just dialing in on like hitting frame 2 and frame 3, frame 4, kind of that 3 frame window that a lot of the slicing characters can offer. If all these hits from A and B tier players that were slices, were being hit on other frames, that could go into being much more better and accurate data on, all other types of hits and frames. Always great to have a bigger sample size as well. Whether it's trying to figure out if certain handedness or stick inputs work, just having more of those contacts gone from, frame 2 being 100%. Mixed back into the database so we can get a better idea of where these hits are supposed to be percentage wise. And also this summer pulled data from this past June, and at that time 15% of all star hits from slice incentivized characters were slices, which I think is a pretty high number, especially at that time there was not nearly as much slicing going on. So who knows what it could be now. Maybe it's up to 20 or even 25%. So that's argument number 5. Argument number 6, slice counterplay has decreased over time. Like I mentioned before, Shops has the back of the box technique where basically it's just kind of watching the ball shadow. Don't necessarily have to focus on the pitch as much. And along with that, A and B tier players can now slice charge pitches consistently. At the beginning of Slice, this is something that wasn't really happening nearly as often. And that can include changeups as well. A lot of players have gotten really good at slicing changeups. It also is, the jam pitch has become way less viable. I would say in the early days of slicing, batters weren't really moving as much, or maybe were moving back a tad and getting caught jammed and hitting like frame 4 or frame 3 for an out. And that's starting to go away as well. So now you're kind of hoping they miss contact on the inside entirely, which can happen, but it's a lot less frequent than what the jam that was happening before. So now the only remaining options in my mind are basically trying to walk, or maybe you use a star pitch, and I think that's getting into really desperate territory. Using star pitches on defense definitely hurts your offense, and you're going to be wanting those for slicing potentially anyway, so I don't really foresee star pitches becoming used to stop slicing. The slice meta has developed really rapidly over the past year. Haven't had a lot of changes to counter it, and we've kind of just hit a dead end. There really aren't any new slice developments to be made aside from just slicing more, which I'm kind of outlining why I think that's a bad thing in this video. So that's argument number 6. Argument number 7, more and more slices are occurring now due to captains being unlocked. This is a new rule change from the previous season. Previous seasons, only one team could have a captain for 1 star because Bowser is the other captain. Slices could happen if you had a 2-star captain, but it was just a lot more costly. Whereas now, both teams only have to spend 1 star for a slice, and that also has allowed them to now burn an additional star just due to the potential reward. It just isn't worth the cost as much when your captain character is not the captain on your team, because it costs 2 stars to do a star swing. And let's say you get a higher scoring game going, you could see up to 10 slices a game just from captains, and maybe even some more from, like a Toadette or a Dixie or a Boo, for example, characters that could slice a ground ball. And Birdo captain is seeing every game. Maybe there's a few outliers where that isn't the case, but in Nolan Draft, at least sometimes you maybe had Birdo getting picked on the Bowser team, but now Birdo is pretty much exclusively captain. And I would say Mario and Luigi have definitely increased captain usage. These 3 characters all are just because frames 3, maybe it isn't the best average, but it's not going to be foul all the time like a DK or a Diddy, or like a Wario. So there's like a 2 to 3 frame window for increase in success compared to other captains. These other captains are either punished for having a 1 frame window, or they're rewarded for an accidental late swing, which I kind of outlined earlier. Or in some cases, they're punished for not being able to slice at all. Yoshi kind of hits the ball. Yoshi would hit the ball up the middle on a slice, and it has a decent chance of getting caught by the pitcher or the infield. So that's argument number 7. Argument number 8 is kind of more of an opinion, and I'll try to outline why I think this, but I think it makes the game a less entertaining and watchable product. I just find it less suspenseful, less baseball driven. It's more input based. The commentary kind of shifts around to, instead of, is the batter going to get a hit here, to, is the batter going to hit frame 2 and will it bounce for, a single or a triple when contact is made. The action kind of just becomes a formality. The ball in play just kind of goes away. And like Stars Off now, if we're going to talk about walking the slicing captain characters, that's potentially 3 walkable characters per team, which I would not say is really something that happens in baseball that much. And also I think a lot of other sports leagues have made rules to go against conventional play to improve the watchability, even if it was the cost of competitiveness. I've come up with some examples. Not all of these are one-to-one examples of, comparing it to slice, but basketball, for example, they've reduced the number of timeouts, removed transition fouling. So like if someone's on a fast break, a lot of teams would just foul them to stop the play. That's kind of gone away in the NBA now. Over the years, they've reduced the shot clock to keep the game moving. Other rules to limit intentional fouling, Hack-a-Shack was one. So Hack-a-Shack was when Shaquille O'Neal would just get fouled every time he came down the court. It was optimal play because he was bad at shooting free throws, but it was really horrible to watch. It just slowed the game down, and it was just watching Shaq shoot free throws, so the NBA eventually removed that rule. Baseball also kind of has some of these, so the banning the shift, that's going to be happening in the near future. Also reducing time between pitches and innings. There may have been some pitchers hurt by this that enjoyed taking a long time between pitches. Mario Baseball itself has even done this. We've removed fielder swaps from 2 to 1. Some have said that's a strategic decision, but it is a watchability decision just due to less pausing. Also, we removed glitch bunting and removed dingus bunting. 2 things that affected the game in certain ways, but also made the game less enjoyable to watch. Football, has changed overtime rules not to determine game on a coin flip. That's made it better to watch. Tennis, they have instant Hawkeye challenge now instead of replay, which is just like a quick way to see if the ball was in or out or not. And like I said, this may seem trivial, but watchability does matter to some degree for any sport. Being more watchable, could bring new players in, and you never know when, maybe a big streamer or somebody catches a game somehow. So that's argument number 8. Number 9, the last argument here. I don't believe removing it deviates from the base game. And I just believe this because growing up, I didn't even know slice was a thing, and I played the game for years. Didn't even know it existed until its discovery last year. I think the game would return to core baseball mechanics like we grew up playing, which I think is really good for the game. And I think there's kind of a misnomer out there that the game is very RNG based, which, yes, hitting is RNG, but I still believe the game is ultra competitive without slicing. I think character and lineup decisions really matter. The emphasis would return on fundamentals, hitting, pitching, base stealing, bunting, fielding, things like that. And also, you can still mitigate and manipulate the game's baseball RNG to your advantage. If you go back and look at some of the ELO leaderboards from previous seasons, the best players are winning the games. If you go and look at tournament results, the best players are winning games most, if not all of the time. So I really don't find it to be as random of a game as people say it is. I think it's a lot in people's heads sometimes. I think if you control what you can control, like, good results will come for you. And if you start worrying about the RNG affecting your game, I think that's when you can really start to struggle. I think Captain Star hits would feel more earned with Slice removed. People may still think Birdo Egg is broken, but at least now it would be due to making good contact and timing, which I'm a fan of. I think that should be rewarded. We also have a Gecko code for no slice that's already been made, so as soon as the community is on board, we could agree upon that. Frames 2 and 10 will go further foul with this code turned on. And kind of the last point here is I think slicing can be addressed without lumping in other things that may or may not to be corrected. Glitch bunting was addressed on its own. Dingus bunting was addressed on its own. If people want to address grounder bobbles or Bowser's batting code, I think that's completely fine, but I don't think those should just be brought up just because Slice is being brought up. Those are just kind of their own separate issues, and if the community thinks those are a big enough problem, I think that they'll be addressed in the future. But currently, for those two items in particular, and maybe other items, that just really hasn't happened yet. So I guess to recap, I'm just going to post the 9 reasons again why I think slicing should be removed in the game. And you can, throughout the video, you can pause and read all the bullet points more if you want to. So I enjoyed researching and talking about this topic. Let me know if there's anything else that you'd like to see covered, and I'll definitely look into covering it. So that's all I got for now. Thanks again for watching.